Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nakia, the content creator for True Horror Stories POV. Okay, I know you guys have been waiting for this backstory for the longest time ever and I'm so sorry for the delay. I hope korang faham lah because of this whole COVID situation and things is a bit tough on our side. So actually kita have to prioritize either kita nak shoot POV ataupun kita nak buat backstory. Kita cannot do both simultaneously lah. For now kita tak mampu nak buat macam itu. Doa-doakan InsyaAllah in future kita mampu kan. So anyway, this is finally the backstory for episode Jaro. Okay, so I know a lot of you korang macam terfikir macam kenapa Jarom punya cerita ni it's not shot in the POV method. Okay, it is because Jarom was an episode that was kirakan was an incident that I decided to share with a production house that my sister was working in, and then they decided to make it into one of dorang punya cerita series hantu lah. So because it wasn't my baby, it wasn't it's not up to me untuk decide how it's being done and everything. So they actually decided to shoot it in a featured film kind of way. I have no say. I was basically just the person who gave my stories and then gave my experience ceritakan orang, and also the actress lah in that particular video. Yeah, so that's why it wasn't shot in POV. Okay, tapi do let me know in the comment section below if let's say you'd like for us to make it into a POV. Mana tahu korang masih nak tengok kan. But I don't know, because for me, korang dah pernah tengok in this featured film, takut nanti bila buat POV korang find it macam repetitive ke apa. But I'm still I'm all ears and open to your suggestions. So just let me know. Okay, so sekarang ni for cerita Jarom, it actually happened in the year 2010. Okay, so I remember vividly dia berlaku pada tahun 2010 because it was the period the time when I was still teaching, masih tengah mengajar. So this period ni I remember I was so busy, selalu balik rumah dari sekolah, dari kerja kan lambat, and then like sometimes imagine dekat sekolah balik sampai pukul 11 malam. So it was very busy that time tu. Kita nak revamp curriculum, kita nak kena set up classroom, a lot of things, and it was nearing the end of the year. On top of that, I actually had to prepare costumes for my student, because it's also macam ada graduation, so kita ada a little performance gitulah. So what happened was that night kan, I came home slightly earlier than usual. Selalu balik pukul 11. So I remember that night I came home about pukul 9 gitu, because I had to jahit costume for my students. So the costume I had to jahit taklah macam mananya macam wow ke apa kan. Basically I just had to jahit tie, I don't know apa bahasa Melayu dia, but it's the tie lah kat leher tu. I had to jahit that. Okay, so actually I can buy it off shelf. That means saya pergi kedai beli ke apa. But because akak ni cerewet sikit lah kan, so I have this particular style and look that I want lah. And then let's say if I were to pergi kedai and beli, mahal, because of that particular style thing. So I decided to, just jahit sendiri lah. So pulaknya tengah busy everything, so I put off everything last minute. So the next day I dah ada performance tu, so I die have to siapkan tau that tie lah. And then what happened was, malam tu I remember dah balik rumah, tak sempat mandi pun, just letak bag semua, makan snack ke apa benda yang mampu lah makan apa kunyah-kunyah sikit-sikit gitu kan. So I just sat down. Okay, if this incident happen dekat my mom's place, if you guys know most of the episodes kan, macam Midnight Job, Just a Hunch, yeah, so that's the house where benda ni berlaku lah. So if let's say you tengok cerita Just a Hunch, you can nampak ada this meja besar, which is sebelah meja besar ni dia depan tangga tau. So sebelah meja besar ni ada tingkap, and that is where the incident took place lah. So basically what happened was I was sitting down dekat that meja besar, and letak dekat atas meja tu memang kita punya tempat jahit lah, ada that sewing tempat kan. So I tengah jahit kat atas meja sana. So my neighbour ni, I know my jiran sebelah ni, dia very very hardworking, and she is also a tuition teacher tau. So what happened is that selalu student akan pergi rumah dia untuk tuition lah. But I that night pukul 9-10 about that time kan, tiba-tiba bila tengah nak measure, tengah potong-potong kain semua kan, I heard budak lari kat luar koridor tau. Kan meja kat sini, so sebelah tingkap. So I heard lah budak tengah lari. At that point of time tak ada fikir macam asal budak lari malam ke apa. In fact my thinking was apa ni, rajin apa dia ni, like ciong dia really like ajar budak-budak sampai malam sih, dah nak masuk ke 11, 10, 11 ni, budak-budak ni masih nak belajar, tak ngantuk pula budak-budak ni. So I was actually more of impressed daripada fikir bukan-bukan pun. But sambil tengah buat tu dengar budak-budak lari-lari gitu tau. Then shortly after that, dah nak pukul 11 lebih gitu, tiba-tiba dah bila time nak jahit tau. Tadi measure-measure masih tengah potong kain semua kan, pin-pin semua nak ukuran semua kan. Sekali dah nak masuk ke 11 tu, dengar my neighbour punya anjing, because my deret kan, we are the only Melayu lah, the rest semua orang Cina. Anjing diorang menyalak bising-bising lah. It's not like the normal nyalak macam kita dengar kat TV macam gitu semua kan, bukan tau. Dia punya nyalak kan macam anjing tu kesakitan. So and the thing is that it's not only one neighbour tau, because my deret like I said, kita seorang Melayu, so almost all of them semua ada anjing. Diorang macam berbual to each other tapi merayu-rayu lah. So that got me macam terfikir macam apa ni, because I've never heard this cries before, tak pernah dengar tau. So macam fikir macam apa ni. And just when that happened kan, my body froze. I terus macam tak boleh, tengah jahit gini, my body froze, and then macam tegang lah gitu, tak boleh gerak tau. The only thing that I was boleh gerakkan was my eyes. So when tengah macam gitu, dah tegak gitu, dah dengar bunyi kan. So tengah duduk macam ni, tingkap kat sebelah sini tau. So the only thing boleh goyang was my mata. So I just macam gini, just tengok macam gitu. And when I move my eyes, macam dah stare gitu kat sana kan, I saw tingkap tu. Okay, my mom's house, dia punya tingkap is frosted. That means dia macam orang kat luar tak boleh nampak orang dalam tak boleh nampak luar. Except for when orang tu datang dekat tau dengan the cermin, then you can see dia tu pun tak nampak clear, nampak macam silhouette gitulah kan. Unless kau dekat-dekat dia betul-betul press muka dia, baru boleh nampak macam muka dia kena press lah kat kelas tu kan. So when I was tengah frozen, tengah tak boleh goyang macam gitu, tengah tengok kan, nampak ada benda dekat at the end of the tingkap tengah diri gitu. So I couldn't buat masa, apa benda ni tercegat kat luar tingkap aku kan. Dah macam like I think 5 seconds gitu kan, 5 seconds gitu, tiba-tiba benda tu lompat. Terus dah nampak gitu, alamak, I already tahu lah ni benda apa. Dia lompat gitu je, terus bulu roma semua berdiri semua. Terus I just again tak boleh gerak. I terpaku lah macam gitu, tak boleh gerak. I just macam dalam hati macam, oh my god, don't tell me this is really happening. Dah panic lah. And then benda tu lompat lagi. Dia lompat lagi. Sampai benda tu betul-betul dekat sebelah. So the tingkap is a full stretch. So I was sitting here, betul-betul kat sini, the tingkap. And then all I did was, tengah frozen gini, all I did was macam gitu. And then because obviously tak I cannot turn, so macam gitu kan. So the best thing I could do is just macam stare kat dia gini, macam tengah tengok lah. And then the next thing that I saw was benda tu macam gini. Dia rokok kan diri dia, kasih dekat lagi dengan cermin. So daripada from my angle, I can actually see benda tu rokok, and muka dia gelap semacam. And then it's just I don't know how to describe it lah. It's just gelap semacam and just very seram lah. Very, tak tahu lah nak cakap macam mana. Just tak boleh lupakan lah that feeling that I had at that moment. And then at that point of time, memang akak belum solat, belum macam rajin solat, masih macam tinggalkan solat semua ni kan. Very belum ni lah kan. So I don't know how to recite any ayat, any surah. Okay, okay lah, I know basic tapi macam ayatul kursi semua ni belum hafal tau. So what did I do? I just tengah frozen gini, tengok dia just dalam hati, mulut pun tak boleh goyang tau. So dalam hati just keep on cakap, aku tak kacau kau jangan kacau aku. Aku tak kacau kau, jangan kacau aku gitu. Keep on repeat tu tau. Cakap benda tu sambil stare kat benda tu dah tengah rokok kat tepi kan. Then terus tiba-tiba my mum came down. My mum turun dari tangga, sapa and tepuk me macam sapa lah. Kau malam-malam gini masih jahit macam gitu. Then baru akak boleh snap out of it. Then baru macam macam baru realise lah macam what just happened. Terus macam my mum dah cakap gitu kan, lincah-lincah, toleh kan tengok kat tingkap, dah tak ada apa-apa. But then my mum can tell that my face was very pucat. This one she never tell me on that day. So this one she tell me later lah when I tell her what happened after that kan. But during that night when she tegur me, she was like, muka kau penat tu, dah lah tutup sudah lah, besok boleh jahit ni semua kan. Then she masuk dapur semua, benda semua. That's why I quickly pack up, mesin jahit semua tutup semua, naik atas, mandi, baru tidur. So then the next couple of days, then I just tegur my mum lah. I just cakap macam, Ibu, that time yang ingat tak yang when I was tengah jahit tu kan, asal ibu tegur? Then my mum cakap, when she was upstairs, dia cakap dia rasa lain macam, dia tak tahu apa salah kan, hati dia rasa macam something is wrong and dia need to turun bawah. And true enough, bila dia turun bawah, she saw me macam tengah tak boleh gerak macam gitu. Dia macam she thought macam I tengah fikiran tau, macam tengah fikiran nak jahit macam mana kan. So dia just fikir macam, alah tegur je lah macam biasa. So but when she said she tegur me, she realised that my face was pucat and panic gila lah. Then dia dah fikiran macam, apa pasal ni? But then my mum is the type of person macam dia suka macam macam tak fikir banyak gitu lah, macam taklah, tak ada apa-apa macam gitu tau. So when I said nothing also kan during that period of time, dia pun macam fikir agaknya aku punya imagination lah, agaknya tak ada apa-apa gitu. But when I tell her this story, then she realised, then baru dia bilang lah, dia cakap actually no wonder she got this strong feeling that something wasn't right. Yeah, so this is what happened for episode Jarum. So after that when I went so in the film korang boleh nampak kan diorang ada tokok tambah sikit lah, because nak dibuatkan cerita. So diorang ada tambahkan baby, diorang ada tambahkan macam-macam lah benda-benda lain semua kan. Tapi for me the real encounter was this is what happened lah. Yeah, so puas hati tak sekarang? Okay, so anyway, I hope sekarang korang get a better picture of what actually happened for this episode Jarum. Okay lah, that is it for episode Jarum punya backstory. I hope korang understand the story now and korang actually enjoyed this episode. Okay, if you like this video, click the like button below, and if you like the content of our channel, do like and subscribe to our channel as well. And for those of you who have already done so, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Masya Allah, sangat-sangat terharu. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Okay, so that's it for this episode Jarum punya backstory. I will see you again next time, insyaAllah. Bye.